Did you know scientists are working on bringing back extinct animals and the results are horrifying? Across a group of different labs and research facilities, scientists have been working on splicing DNA together to bring back animals that went extinct thousands of years ago. Scientists have already created literal living direwolves, and that's only the start. There are currently at least 9 extinct species being worked on across different labs. These labs have massive amounts of funding, real DNA, and in some cases have already created living animals. Other labs are still years away from reviving the animal of their chosen species, but even their research and science is close by. Today I'm going to be talking about 9 of the most disturbing extinct animals scientists are actually bringing back right now. Let's start with one of the most famous extinct animals, the direwolf. The direwolf died out around 10,000 years ago and was wiped out at the end of the last ice age. The direwolf is literally the same size as a normal wolf, except is better in every way, with a stronger bite force and stockier limbs. In 2025, a company called Colossal Bioscience announced something that people thought was impossible. The company had created 3 wolf pups with the name Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. These wolves have been created using 20 separate gene edits made to the gray wolf DNA. The team pulled genetic information from ancient direwolf fossils and then used that to figure out which traits to use. They then focused on copying things like the size, jaw structure, coat, and color to recreate the direwolf in a living animal. These wolves are actually still alive today. All these wolves grew up in a protected, large habitat and now look very similar to what paleontologists have estimated direwolves to have looked like. It's horrifying and amazing to think scientists have been able to revive these animals, though it all comes with a huge caveat. These animals aren't true direwolves. Instead, these animals are genetically modified gray wolves fit to match direwolves. Still, this is the furthest any de-extinction project has gotten, with literal living animals that breathe and walk. The next animal is what started the entire movement to unextinct animals, the woolly mammoth. This animal is one of the most specialized for the Ice Age, being designed for the cold, yet it went extinct roughly 10,000 years ago on the mainland due to hunting and rising temperatures. Colossal Biosciences announced they planned to try to bring the woolly mammoth back. The researchers' idea is to edit Asian elephant embryos with mammoth genes taken from frozen woolly mammoth specimens found in the Siberian permafrost. While technology doesn't let scientists create an exact clone of the woolly mammoth, scientists are instead aiming to create an elephant with mammoth-like traits such as a thick wool coat, smaller ears, better cold acclimatization, and extra fat layers. All this would allow the revived extinct animal to survive in cold temperatures similar to how woolly mammoths used to do it. The company's goal is to have the first mammoth calves born by 2028. Currently, researchers are already using gene editing tools to create elephant cells in their lab, with the final goal to recreate the woolly mammoth and release it in the Arctic tundra. Large animals rolling the tundra could help break up packed snow, which creates holes in the ground. These holes would allow the ground underneath the permafrost to get extra cold and frozen, because you don't want permafrost to thaw because it emits huge amounts of carbon dioxide, making woolly mammoths really good for the environment long term. But to be honest though, I think the main reason they're doing it is because it would just be really cool to have these animals back. Next is the Thylacine, known as the Tasmanian tiger. This horrifying animal went extinct in 1936, with the last known individual dying in the Hobart Zoo. What makes this different from other extinction projects is where the researchers got the DNA source. Researchers were able to get access to genetic material that's over 100 years old. This DNA came directly from preserved specimens such as a 108-year-old pouch young preserved in alcohol at the Museum Victoria in Melbourne, teeth from other museum collections, and a 130-year-old dried skin and muscle tissue sample housed at the Swedish Museum of Natural History. Researchers are then comparing this DNA to a small marsupial called the fat-tailed dunnerts, which has a high amount of genetic overlap with the thylacine, despite looking nothing alike. The dunnert is then going to be used as a gene template, with scientists using it as a stand-in species to edit genomes until they get closer to the traits of a Tasmanian tiger. The leaders of this project, Australia, are more invested in this project than a typical country, because the reason for its extinction was overhunting done by the government's bounty programs compared to normal, natural causes. Now it's for the most horrifying animal ever attempted to be revived, the dodo. The dodo disappeared within a century of humans arriving on Mauritius in 1665, with most of the extinction being due to predators that ate the dodo's eggs and humans hunting them. The dodo also literally had zero fears of humans. Sailors said you could walk right up to them and pet them since they had no predator instincts towards us. The de-extinction process relies on the pigeon family. Dodos are part of the pigeon and dove lineage. This is despite dodos being flightless birds and how strange they look. Scientists have been extracting and sequencing dodo DNA from museum specimens and comparing it to living pigeons. There, they identify what the key genes were that control things like the size and flightlessness of dodos. Researchers have even reportedly made progress developing primordial germ cells from pigeons. The goal is to then take these dodo pigeon cells and then find a related bird species surrogate to hatch a dodo. The problem is bird embryology takes a lot more time and work than mammals, with the date for actually bringing back dodos still being very far away. Next is the giant moa. The giant moa was a massive flightless bird native to New Zealand, with some species being able to grow taller than a human. The moa is believed to have gone extinct a few centuries ago due to overhunting. The project's gotten a lot of press over the funding for it, with filmmaker Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, backing the New Zealand-based effort to bring the moa back. The goal is to use a mix of birds like the tinamou and emu genetics as references. Currently though, the work is in very early stages of research and nowhere near close to the direwolf project mentioned earlier. Right now, researchers are focused on sequencing the moa genomes from bone material and figuring out how the moa relates to different bird species specifically. The problem comes with the fact that there are multiple moa species, meaning the family tree isn't fully mapped out yet. Next we go to one of the least known animals, but one that might have the most realistic timeline out of any of these experiments. The bluebuck was a South African antelope that was hunted to extinction sometime in the early 1800s. The extinction was literally caused by European colonization and hunting in Africa, being one of the first documented mammal extinctions due to this. Colossal bioscientists announced in April 2026 that they were going to focus on this animal outside of their normal Ice Age related projects. The plan involves using the roan antelope as a genetic base since it's one of the closest living relatives. Antelope reproduction and breeding are already very well understood, with decades of conservation work with other African species that would give the researchers a huge head start. Researchers on the project estimated they could get the project done very quickly, despite it having far less media attention than mammoths and direwolves. The story of the Pyrenean Ibex, also called the Bucardo, is honestly one of the saddest moments in de-extinction history. Over 20 years ago, the last known wild Bucardo, named Celia, died when a falling tree crushed her in 2000. Before the Bucardo died, scientists managed to preserve some of the Bucardo's cells. In 2003, researchers then used those preserved cells to create a cloned Bucardo kid. This made the clone the first extinct animal ever brought back to life. Even more sadly though, the clone was born with a severe lung defect and died just minutes after birth. The scientists managed to clone an entire extinct species, but it goes to show how hard the science really is. Even after bringing the animal back to life, they sadly could not keep it alive or guarantee a successful outcome. Next we go to the northern white rhino. While this animal isn't technically extinct yet, it is about as close as an animal could be while still being alive. Currently there are only 2 of these creatures left on the entire planet. Both of the rhinos, named Najin and Fatu, are female and live under constant protection at a conservatory in Kenya. Due to the old age and health of these 2 animals, neither one of them can have more rhinos or carry a pregnancy. Any natural reproduction for the species is entirely over. Scientists at an organization called Biorescue have been working diligently to change that with a different approach entirely. The researchers have been collecting eggs from the 2 remaining females and combining them with resources from male northern white rhinos that died years ago. This combination has allowed them to create embryos in a lab setting. The plan is then to implant those embryos into a southern white rhino surrogate. As the southern white rhino is so close to the northern white rhino, it may make reproduction possible. The research is very hopeful too, with the researchers aiming for a real pregnancy within the next year or 2. And if this works out, that would mean extinction of this animal would be ended. Though this all is very intense, as it's basically just a race against extinction happening in real time. If the scientists fail now, especially after the white rhinos die, we may never be able to bring the northern white rhino back again, making just another animal lost to time. Last is the humble pigeon. Everyone's probably seen or at least heard of a pigeon unless you've never left your house, though one pigeon people haven't seen is the passenger pigeon. The passenger pigeon was at one point the most numerous bird species on the entire planet. Some people even say that there were so many at a time that the sky could turn black for hours with just pigeons. In the 1800s that changed with mass hunting and habitat destruction occurring, wiping out literally billions of them just over a few decades. The last known individual bird named Martha died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914. Researchers since then have been working to bring the animal back from extinction alongside the dodo. Both the Dodo project and the Pigeon project involve solving similar problems around the topics and research of bird genetics and reproduction. The closest living relative that can make the cloning possible is the band-tailed pigeon, but progress just like with the dodo has been extremely slow, as cloning a bird is much harder than cloning mammals. Mammals just have significantly more research in genetic engineering techniques than cloning. The research is still ongoing for this project, but the timeline is also very uncertain. So here you have it, 9 animals that scientists are actually bringing back from extinction right now. And honestly, some of these are way closer to happening than you think. These range from some simple animals and birds like the dodo and passenger pigeon to animals many people say are horrifying to see in real life, such as the direwolf and woolly mammoth. The field is moving fast and it would be so amazing to see these animals come back to life. Comment which animal you would like to see most come back from extinction, and if you like this video, subscribe as I have some really good videos coming up. Check out my old videos, hype, like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.